Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to carve Frankenstein, little fall decor, out of just a piece of basswood with only a knife. And I'm going to use a pocket knife today. So this is the carving, little Frankenstein's monsters kind of guys. And here's another version in a 6-inch stick. Now, it's a 3.5-inch tall carving out of basswood, but I want to point out that you don't always want to be holding on to a small piece of basswood, and if that's going to be a problem for you, you don't have to. You can hold on to a larger piece of basswood and just do all your measurements down from there, and you got more to hold on to while you carve. So if that's easier for you to do, you can do that. This one is the one I carved on my lunch break, trying to figure out what to do for a video. And then subsequently I did the rest of the little guys, and each one is slightly different in variation. You can see different eyes, you can see different little brow lines and jaws, and a little slightly different size in the boots. We're going to show you how to do all of the different variations today. Again, knife only, piece of basswood, 3.5 inches tall. Let's flip the camera around and we'll jump right into it. We're going to be carving this figure on a 3.5-inch block of 1-inch by 1-inch basswood. I'm going to use today a Rough Rider pocket knife that I have. This knife has been reprofiled into a whittling knife by a fellow named Alan Goodman, and I bought this knife from him just a little bit ago. So it's been reprofiled, so it's not just a stock canoe Rough Rider, but I enjoy it. So I'm going to carve today with this knife for fun, just to change things up. Any side of the block can be the front of the block. Whichever side of the block you want to be the front of the block is the front of the block for you. We're going to go 1 3/8 of an inch down, and that is going to be our head. 3/8, so 1 3/8. That line we want to transfer all the way around the wood carving, each side. Back side of the head, front side of the head, left side of the head, and front side of the head. Now for our feet, they are 3/8 of an inch up from the bottom, right there. So that line we're just going to do in the front, and that is going to be the top of our feet for our Frankenstein's monster. For our arms, they are 2.5 inches down from the top of the carving. So there's our head, we're measuring from the top, feet are at the bottom, 2.5 inches down. Those are our arms. And this measurement needs to be on the left and right side of the carving. So front's got the feet. This is the left side. Let's do the right side as well. 2.5 inches down. 2.5 inches down. And make sure that line goes all the way across. Make it a little bit easier for you. Now on the top of the head, what we're going to do here is we are going to draw a cross through the middle of the head. And you can find the middle if you want to by drawing first from corner to corner. And that might help you find the middle more easily, because that's the middle point is right where those things cross. I want a line going straight front to back. We line things up, and a line going straight left to right. Now really all we need is the left to right line, but I find the other lines help me line up and figure out where that line is and get it accurate, because then I can see the distance here, the distance there, and I know it's pretty squared up and pretty accurate. That center line I want to transfer down, because I'm going to build my arms based off of that center line. So I want to bring it down like so. Okay? We're also going to build our bolt off of that. For these arms, I am going to go about 1/4 of an inch off of the center of these arms here and here. And this is where I'm going to start my drawing. I'm going to draw in from that center to the center, like from the top to the bottom of the arm section here, okay? The top to the bottom, about midway down, I'm going to connect that to here. And then connect that to about 1/4 of an inch out. The same distance out up here to here. And that's the front of the arm. Now I'm going to do the same thing and just make this other line here parallel with the front line. Like so. And just how you need to. This line doesn't have to have any specific measurements. It just needs to be parallel to this 1/4 of an inch over. And if you need to adjust it how you need and get it right. And then we're going to come 1/4 of an inch up from here. Right, like so, and that's going to be our hand. All right, that's pretty easy, and you should be able to accurately transfer that to the other side. Again, from that middle point there, we're going to go about 1/4 of an inch forward, and then we're going to come down to about the midway point, and then come down to about the 1/4 inch right there. And then we're going to mirror that on this side right here. And down like so, and then come up about a 1/4 inch. And there's the hand. And that keeps our hands in relatively the same spot from left to right. Now we're worried about getting a block on either side of the head. Now here's the thing about these blocks, about these bolts. Bolts on traditional Frankensteins you might see in the middle of the neck. I've got these shifted up a bit on the side of the head because I'm using them kind of like ears, and I like that look. It's fun, it's quirky, and it's whimsical to me. You don't have to put them in the same spot. If you do put them on the side of the neck, you might want to do something for an ear. I kind of like this. It's a little bit easier, it's simpler, and I'm trying to do something simplified that can be easily done knife only for a beginner. I think this works really well. I think that you don't think about the fact that bolts are a little bit higher in the head than they might be. I think it's just fun, and it works, and it just looks really, I mean, I really like the way these guys turned out. I'm pretty excited about them. I'm pretty happy with them. So yeah. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the bolts in the side of the head. You can adjust things how you want to and put them wherever you want to. It's your carving. Your carving does not have to be exactly the same as the one I carved in this video. And I'm going to show you at several points during this video things you can do to adjust your carving to be more you. And you should absolutely take advantage of that and do that as we go through this. Now for our bolt, we're going to measure 5/8 down from the top for the top of the bolt. So 5/8 is 1/8 past a 1/2 inch. And then 7/8 is the bottom of the bolt. So it's 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, which is just 1/8 under an inch. There's the top and bottom of our bolt on that side. And then we're measuring 3/8, 3/8, and 5/8. So 3/8 for the front of the bolt, 5/8 for the back of the bolt. And there are our measurements. That is going to be our bolt. I've got that bolt shifted forward on the head just a little bit. I like the way it sits right there. So it's not quite centered on that center line. Now, to get in the same spot over here, we do the same thing again. 5/8 down, 7/8 down for the top and bottom of the bolts. Three-eighths to the front, 5/8 to the back, and there is our general shape for our bolt. And you notice that bolt should be octagonal in shape, but I've got a square carved on there. We're going to fix that later. All right, with all of our measurements in, we can go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 1/4 inch off of each corner just to make it a little bit easier on me as I carve this thing, because I don't need all those hard corners there. And if I take them off now, it's just going to be easier to do versus doing it in little sections here or there as we get further into the carving. I'd say 1/8 of an inch maybe, but like 1/4 inch works. Just taking off those hard corners on each corner. Now I'm going to just barely set up in each corner the neckline underneath the head and just put a little V-cut on each corner where the bottom of our head's going to go. I do want to be careful in the front of the carving not to go too far over left or right, because I want to leave room here in the middle, because our chin is going to come down here for Frank and be a little bit bottomed out, a little bit further down than the head comes. So we're going to have that jaw come down in the front a little bit. And we'll worry about that as we get to it. Next up, I want to start to set in the bottom of the arms right here and the feet. Now, we want those feet to be big old boots, okay? And this is the point where you think about the boot size real fast. I've got really big boots that are the width of the 1x1 with this guy here on the right. But the guy on the left, they are a bit smaller because I shaved them down. Be mindful of what size boot you want to go with on your carving as we do this, so you can adjust accordingly. You do not have to do yours the same as I do. You can do it however you want to. So What this section here is going to be the boot right here at the bottom, right? I got holding it upside down. There's our head, there's our chin. So this is going to be the boots right through here. So this section right here is going to be the bottom of the hand. And so I'm going to start right here by doing a stop cut. I'm not going to go straight in. I'm going to angle it down a little bit so that the top spine of the blade is going to be angled to the left a little bit towards me as I set this in. And I'm just going to rock that blade in, and I'm going to carve up to it and chip that out, okay? And I'm going to do it more and more, getting deeper and deeper as I go up. Chip it out. And you don't want it to be too deep. That's probably deep enough, but I want to bring this plane here flat and not have it come up and then in. So I want to start to flatten that out a bit. So I'm coming in a bit of an angle down towards where these boots are going to go, because I want the boots to be wider. If you don't want the boots to be wider, here is where you bring this plane flat in line with the side of where the hands are. So if you want to have thinner boots, you bring that plane in. If you want to have thicker boots like I'm going for, we're going to leave that nice and wide. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side. And if you want it, if it's too hard to go straight across, start on a corner and come in, chip that corner out, do the other corner, come in, chip that corner off, and now do the middle and chip that out. And then we're worried about flattening that out from the top, bring that in. And that's looking pretty good. We need to get a little bit more depth on this side because this side's a little bit deeper, so we're going to bring this side in a little bit more. Be mindful on your carving, because even though I need to bring it more in on this side, maybe you don't. Maybe you've already got that depth. It's where you got to use a judgmental eye on your own carving. Look at it and determine what you need to do in order to get it where you want to go. And that's looking a lot better. Now I'm going to worry about the top of the feet here. We're going to bring that in. So I'm going to do a stop cut right here. I'm going to angle this knife, the spine of it, to the right, so I'm angled. This is the lower part, so this is going to be downhill. This is the higher part, it's going to be uphill. So I angle this knife downhill a little bit like so, and I'm going to work that knife blade in, back and forth, and I'm going to carve right down to it. And then chip that out. And I'm even going to go up a little bit past the hands here and bring that down to the feet. Why am I doing that? Why am I going up that high? Because the whole front of the carving is going to come in a ways here. And you can see it start to happen here. When you look at a figure, I got a couple of examples here. This guy, I left the belly out farther than I did on, say, this guy. So this guy looks like he got a bit of a pooch to his stomach, right? And on this guy, I tried to leave the chest out a little bit more to make him look a little bit more muscular. However you shape this chest, if the chest is out farther versus where the stomach is, this guy's very flat, you can have a different shape to your Frank. You can make him look like you got a pudgy belly. You can make him look like you got a big, thick chest, like he works out. Make him look however you want to, and however you're going to be happy with. For this guy, I'm going to have it be mostly flat, so I'm not going to worry about taking things down here. Because remember, this section here, a lot of that's going to come out as we work it around, as we worry about the arms. So this is going to come out, and this is going to come out. We got plenty of room there to bring things in without affecting our arms. We know our arms are already further back there on either side. So I can go ahead and take this out, and I can even come down a little bit in the corner here, like this. And the same thing over here, as I bring that in to these feet. Because we know where our arms are, we know we're not causing any issues. Look at that. We're starting to see that Frankenstein shape a little bit, or that figured shape. Huh? Pretty good. I'm happy with that. I'll take that sharp corner off right there. Okay. Now I want to take a lot of these saw marks off here, like on the back of the head. Do that. I'm going to set in the neckline on the back of the head. like so. And then this back shoulder a bit more here and here. And now I'm going to round off the back of the head. I'm going to take about a quarter, I'm going to go about maybe 3/8 of an inch down, quarter inch, like about so. Take that corner off, and I'm going to take that corner off and that corner off right there to bring that in a bit to round off the back of the head, because our backs of our heads aren't usually as square. Now I'm going to think about setting in these ears, and we're going to move down to the arms. So let's work on the bolts of our ears. So I'm going to start on the left side, and I'm going to go straight across. I'm going to take that line, I'm going to go right on it, and I'm going to angle downwards just slightly. So downhill are the areas outside of the bolt. This is downhill, this is downhill, this is downhill, this is downhill. Everywhere except the bolt. The bolt is uphill in terms of what I'm going to be referring to, referencing. So I'm going to pivot the spine of that blade a little bit towards uphill so that I'm carving downhill, and I'm going to rock that knife blade in nice and firmly, and I'm going to carve right up to it. Okay, I don't want to get down real far past it, but however much I take out here, I am thinning the entire head by doing that. Okay, this bolt is going to be sticking out there, and the deeper you go, the more the bolt sticks out, but also the deeper you go, the thinner your face is going to get. So keep that in mind, because you're adjusting how your Frankenstein is going to look when you get done. Now we're going to do a stop cut the same way on the top, except this time the spine is being angled to the downside, or downhill. I'm going to be angling it to the left here on the spine. I'm going to rock that in and carve down to it like so. Now here's another thing to point out. As we do this, if you want to have a very squarish head, you can take this section right here going up from the bolt off. If you want to have his hair come kind of out a bit more, and I think, well, on this guy here, I got the hair coming out a bit more past the bolt. But on this guy here, he doesn't. It kind of comes up straight from the bolt. Little variations like that allow you to have more options, allow you to change the way your Frankenstein looks. So if you want to have it be more of a moppy kind of top on his head, you can leave that section out there. And if you don't want that, so for instance, in this case, I'm going to carve from down here straight up. I want him to have kind of a straight up kind of haircut from that bolt. That'll also make the bolt protrude a little bit more and look a little bit flatter against the head. And I'm going to like that. And so that's what I'm going to choose to do on this one. But I want to point out those options when we run across them so you know what all you can do. Okay. Now on this right here, I'm going to put the knife blade right along the back of that bolt. And I'm going to pivot the knife blade a little bit to the spine to the left, downhill, as I bring it right down like so. And then I'm going to carve up to knock that area off behind the bolt. Like so. I'm going to do the same thing on this side over here, but angling the opposite way, because I'm going the other direction. Bring it down, then carve that little section out. And now we got that bolt protruding like that. So how do we turn this into an octagon? Well, let's start by taking just a little bit off the top to get those pencil marks gone. Okay. And now we're just going to take all the corners off of the bolt. So 1 corner, 2 corner, 3 corner, and 4 corners. Right like so. And there is our vaguely octagon-shaped bolt head that's going to be used as an ear, that's going to be used as whatever we want to use it as, right? We got that kind of thing going on. Now take note right here. You can see I went a little bit too deep along there, and so you can see that squarish marks from my knife. But you don't see it too bad here. You see that long straight cut through here that I left, okay? Don't get too worried about those lines. You can still see them on this carving if you pay really close attention to it. People don't notice those as much as you think they're going to. As you get better, you won't leave those as much. But I wanted to make sure I pointed this out, that you can see it on these other carvings I finished, and you can see that I left them on those. I'm not too concerned with them because it's a fun little project. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to get it absolutely perfect because it's just a little fun little decoration to set on the shelf near the door. So when people come over, they're like, "Oh my God, they got little Frankensteins everywhere. That's so fun! Look at that!" Right? So anyway, all right, we're gonna do the same thing for the ear on the other side. We're gonna start along the top side here. Spine is gonna be rotated downward slightly, and then I'm gonna rock that knife blade in left to right. And you don't have to do the whole thing at once. If you don't want to, you can just do a little bit on one side right here. We can do a little bit in the front and carve right down to it. Do a little bit in the back, carve right down to it, like so, and a little more in the middle. And we got the top side done, like that. That's about the same depth on each side. Now we're going to do the bottom side right here, left to right, carve up to it. That's good depth. And then I'm going to try to not go too deep. I want to go just the depth of that bolt head and see if I can get this side done better without a whole lot of superfluous marks. Now I'm going to carve up from that bolt to bring the top of the head flush with the depth of the bolt, like so. Big fan there so far. Now we're going to do the back of the bolt. If something's not sliding easy, try changing directions. Try changing tact. I'm just getting that more flush. I'm spending the time to make this one look better, to show you that you can do it, but that it doesn't matter that much, right? Okay, so just like the other side, we're going to take that little sliver off to get rid of those pencil lines. Then we're just going to take our little corners off all the way around, like so. And there is our bolt. So we got that bolt in on both sides. Now we got that saw marks here off the back, but let's take off that hard corner in the back of the head here and here. I'm going to take it off on the left side, right side, or right side and left side, the right side second. And now we're going to do it on the front here. We're going to go right up the front here and try to just barely take off anything, just to get those saw marks gone. Okay. Now I'm going to take off just a 1/4 inch along the top of the head, like so. And then I'm going to take off all those saw marks on the top of the head. Just like so. No fuss, no muss. Now, to keep working on our head, we need to both bring in the base of the neckline here to set in our shoulders, and then bring in the front of the chin as well as our hairline, which we can all do all that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in right here. See where the bottom of that cut is here and the bottom of this cut is here? We're going to bring that same angle over, and I cut right up into here and right down. I'm going to take out a good sized chunk there, and we're going to bring that neckline in underneath that bolt. We don't need it sitting out and protruding really far. You can have it protrude far, especially if you want to have big bottom jaws. You can leave this extra meat right here and not do that cut. You can have a really big jawline if you want to. I think the square head we're going for is going to be plenty for us, and so we don't need to do a lot more, I think. Same thing on the other side here. Oh, I chipped that out. And look at that, it's fixed. Alrighty. So we got that set for a little bit for our head. Now we're going to take off this hard corner here on that side of that head. like so. And now I want to start to set in what our chin line is going to be. How you do this is going to really affect the way your guy looks. You can see on the far left there, I went with a really big wide chin. I did smaller ones, I did more flat ones. Whatever you want to do, think about that right now and how you shape that chin. How much of a V shape it comes down to, how much of a flat shape or how rounded it's going to be. That's going to change the look and the feel of your little whimsical Frankenstein. So bear in mind that. I'm going to go for a larger kind of flat chin area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve that flat line, pivot the knife blade up, and I come in like so. And I'm not pushing real hard. I'm carving towards my hand. So I'm just doing a little bit, and now I'm going to carve up to it like so. Like that right there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Go right down to it and right up. So let's go ahead and adjust that a little bit more and look at your carving to see what all you need to adjust, right? I know I want to cut right across the bottom of that chin. So I can just do this number right here. Bring that line in. You can bring it in from the left, bring it in from the right. Just bring the surface down of the chest so that the chin is protruding a bit past it. A regular person, their chin might not protrude much past their chest, but on Frankenstein's monster, for us today, he does. Okay. So you see what I did there, you see what I went for, and you see where we're at now. Now we've got that defined. We could go ahead and do our hair right now if we want to. We can start setting in our arms. I think that let's go ahead and start setting up our hair, and we'll do the rest of the face right now because why not? So I'm just going to take the rest of the saw marks off right there. So for our hairline, we're going to use these bolts as our ears, and so we're going to build off of the bolts. So from here, I'm going to go 45-degree angle straight back. Okay, 45-degree angle straight back. That's the back of our hairline, and then we're just going to connect those two lines. Okay, that's the hairline of the back of our head. So all of this is going to get black paint. This down here is going to get green paint. That's the hairline right there. Now we're going to come over, and here's where you decide, do you want your guy to have sideburns? Do you want him to not have sideburns? So like this guy has no sideburns. This guy's got a little bit of sideburn action going on. This guy's got some good sideburns. This guy doesn't have sideburns. It depends on whatever you want, whatever look you want to go for, or whatever style you want to go for. Make that determination now, and then go from there. So if we want to do sideburns, I might come out midway on this bolt here and come straight out, and then come up a quarter of an inch, like a quarter, angled at a 45-degree angle here. So again, I come out and then up at a 45-degree angle, okay? And how high up you go with this hair determines how much face you have, how much room you have for the face. If you go really high with the hair, or if you bring that hair down a little bit lower. What's a good example? This guy's got deeper hair, so you got less room for the face, right? So let's go with this. Take that line off right there. I want to go much steeper. I'm going to bring that line really steep. Really steep. Almost like a quarter inch from the top of the crown. I say quarter inch a lot, I know. And then I'm going to do a big V. Another big V. Like that. So I got that really climbing up there. At a steep angle to give me plenty of forehead. And then right here in the middle of the face, about halfway from the top, about halfway down, that's going to be our eye line. Seemed weird right off the bat. I absolutely know. And so I'm going to, right there, I'm going to do a flat cut straight in. I'm just going to carve right up to it. That is where Frank's eye line is going to be. Now his nose doesn't have to protrude much, and you can make it square. You can come straight down. I'm going to angle it out a bit. like so. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put it right there. This side's the downhill, this side's uphill because this side's going to be higher. So I'm going to put the knife right there, angle that blade to the left a little bit, and then sink that knife blade in. I'm going deeper in the tip, in where the nose and the eye meet right there, and I'm very shallow on the outside there. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing here. I sink that knife blade in. Again, the same thing. That knife is coming in at a pretty good angle. I'm creating a deep crevice in there where that eye is going to be. Because we're not going to carve an actual eye in. We're going to leave that up to interpretation or paint. Again, take a look at these guys here. I have 3 different style eyes here, 4 if you include this guy. Okay. So on the far left, we have no eyes carved in, no eyes painted, but it gives the illusion of eyes with that dark space, the shadow. Here we have eyes that I penciled in an outline and then put little dots of white paint on top of. And so there's like a little black eyeshadow from the pencil around it, and that's a pretty neat look. This is just white paint with a black dot. And this is penciled in. So it's got a little black eyeshadow kind of around it, and then white paint with a black dot in the middle. So I got 4 different styles of eyes you can look at. None of them are carved in. They're all painted in. And that's kind of the traditional flat, plain style of thing to do, where you just paint eyes in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I kind of like the look of these guys. So pick the eye that you like. I think my favorite right now is probably this guy with just the white eyes. He looks mean and vicious in the cute and fun way, but I really like that. Another thing I want to point out too, while we're here, is not all of these guys have carved in scars. This guy's carved in, this guy's carved in, this guy I penciled in and then painted green over it. This guy I penciled in too, but not very hard. And I kind of like the look of the penciled in ones a little bit better. I don't know. It depends on what you like as to what you want to do. And we'll talk about that as we get there. For now, we're doing the eyes. And I'm going to be painting eyes in. So again, I'm going to carve the side of this nose. Knife goes in right there, the tip in that corner, and I'm going to angle the apex or the spine of the blade towards the nose, and then sink that in. And I'm not getting too deep. You can see the depth right there. Do the same thing here along the top. Tip of the point on the same spot, and I push that down in, and you can see that angle again right like so. And then I'm going to carve down into it. Like so. And I'm just working on that depth, taking that hard edge off the nose. And you can see this is a really wide nose. It doesn't have to stay wide, because I'm also going to bring it in like so, and then flatten it out. You have a big bulbous kind of nose right there, okay? And so I'm just going to carve along that. And then carve up underneath there, like so. And work on flattening that out a bit. Like that. I like the way it's turning out. It's going to look very neat. Very nice. Very fun. Very fun. Okay. Now let's talk about mouths real fast, because you've got options. This guy, it's just a straight across line, and I chip little bits out, kind of like it's damaged, like he's got like stitches right there going across it, okay? This guy, I went for like the old school big thick underbite, so I carved a line down, a line up, and I just took out the upper portion to where it looks like a really big thick jaw and thick underbite. This guy, I just carved a sideways grin, and I painted the inside white. That's really easy to do, not difficult. And this guy, I carved a big thick underbite and then took those little notches out to make that underbite look kind of mean, kind of, you know, like an old manish, you know, like it's stitched up maybe. Like it's a fun look. So I think for this guy, maybe we'll try this one. That's probably the most work to do. It's not much work, really. So let's just draw. We could do that if we wanted to. I kind of want to do the big thick underbite though. I do. Okay, so like you could just do this, and then basically, if you're doing one that's like that, you would draw around it with your knife tip, and then you remove the interior just by carving along the inside, rotating the carving, carve along the inside, rotating it, recut your lines as you need to, and you'll be able to get that done fairly easily. But for this guy, I want to have another one with the underbite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line, bring it right over to the other side, and then come straight up. Oh, that's fun. That is fun. Okay. So I'm going to carve it right here and here. And carve down to it. Right here. Right like so. That's a fun little kind of thing, isn't it? Ooh, did that? Yeah, that chipped out. Look at that. That chipped out because I went a little too hard. Okay, so what happens when that happens? That's fine. We can talk about that. I chipped that little spot out. So what can you do? You can do several things. You can absolutely get some super glue and glue that back into place because it'll probably fit back in there. And I would use barely a dot of super glue if I wanted to do that. Okay, so barely a dot, and you can glue that back in place if that happens to you. Or if you don't want to do that, you take it deeper. You almost always have the room to go deeper on your carvings. Almost always. So I'm just going to keep taking down deeper to bring that chin in a bit. So his chin's not going to be as far out as we had initially wanted. And that's okay. This pocket knife has a thicker blade than I think about. It's easy for chips to happen with it. But I want to be able to get good at using this pocket knife because many times I'm out about away from the house. I don't have a good carving knife with me, but I can have a pocket knife in my pocket. I can pull it out and whittle an ornament or something like that for Christmas as I prep for fall festivals. And another chip. That big thick blade's making me chip all kinds of things. I'm going to learn how to use that. But that's still looking okay. I can just do that to clean up that chip. So he's got a fun look. We're going to worry about the hair next. So from the back of this bolt here, I draw a line right there, then carve up to it, just enough to give a little bit of depth to where that hairline is. Remember, hair isn't really far from the face, so you don't have to get real deep up underneath that hair. You just have to put a line there with the knife, just something to delineate where the hair ends, where it stops. Nothing hard, nothing complicated. I keep moving around the head as I do that. Like so. Down from the top. Down from the top. Inside of that V. Right like so. Inside of this middle V. Like so. And inside of that one. Like so. Now, we've got that hairline started to be set up. And you can see he's starting to look very, very Frankenstein-like. Huh? Really liking that look. So, from the forehead, we want to establish a brow line. Just barely over that eye line here, I'm going to carve in and out like so. I'm going to swoop it in. I'll use just the tip of the blade here to do that. I don't want to get too deep. I do want to get deep, but I don't want to get too far up the head. I don't want to carve into the hair if I can help it. But I do want to bring things down to the level that I'm bringing that brow line down to. So be patient. Take your time, because you're creating that depth that you need to really set this apart. And you see how we got that section like kind of pushed in like a little bit right there. It's not much, but it provides enough. That little bit really provides enough to give us the illusion of that brow line, and that's all we need. We need that illusion of it, and people see so much more in their mind's eye that is there if we allow them to when they're looking at it, and they're like, wow, it's so detailed. What a fun little guy. Okay, so we got our brow line in. We got everything on the head is pretty much done. I mean, we could spend time going in here and rounding hard corners and cleaning things up. And if you wanted to, you could come in here and do a couple little V notches along the bottom of the jaw right there, you know, and just take a knife to make it look a little like pickled, you know what I'm saying? Like he's got shriveled, you know, bottom jaw lips, you know, and that's gonna be kind of fun. So I like that. We're gonna do that. We're gonna stick with it. Okay, for the back of this arm here, I'm going to carve all the way out to the back here. So I'm going to actually take that line all the way back just to make it easy on me. I'm going to carve right here, straight in. The spine of the blade is angled towards the arm. I'm going to rock that in right like so. And then you can come in from the back and carve right up to it if that is the way you want to do it. If it doesn't fall out, you might need to recut it. Like so. Take that down a little bit. Like that. That's looking better. Now we've got to do the back of the arm, and you can do it differently. You can just bring the tip in, carve it out like so if you want, and then tip up underneath like that and chip it out. Whatever's easiest for you, that's the way you should do it. Just be mindful of where your blade's going, where your hands are. Make sure you're wearing your carving glove and you're being safe. Now let's do the front of the arm. So I'm going to go to that elbow, tip of the blade, spine of the blade rotated back towards the arm. I'm going to sink that in. Now this one, I want to make sure that the back of the blade here goes all the way down to the same depth as the tip, so I can get all the way up in there. And now I'm going to do the same thing from the opposite direction. Getting as deep as I can. I don't want to go too deep because I don't want to get the blade into the foot down here. I got to be mindful of that. And now I'm going to try to carve. There we go. And if you don't get it all out in one piece, that is fine. Don't try to get it out all out in one piece if it's too hard for you. Take your time, chip it out a little bit at a time. Maybe half it. Maybe go right here from the elbow straight out and then take out this little chip here and then the bottom chip. However you need to do it so you can get it out and have it looking right, that's the way that you should do it. We're all going to carve differently, and that is just the nature of the way that this hobby works. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, now the bottom of the hand, again, just about a quarter of an inch up. And then clothing is not very thick, so I'm barely taking anything there, just enough to delineate a line from where the clothing stops and the hand starts. And I'm going to take off those hard edges. Like so. There we go. He's a fun little guy. Okay, now we're going to work on the arm on the other side. And if your lines aren't looking as good, you can't see them as clearly, redraw them. Doesn't hurt to do. I can see them enough to redraw them. Now I can easily go back in. And carve them out. And then right here in the back of that. Same angle right there, nice and flat, deep as I can get it. Or not deep as I can get it, as deep as the arm is. And tip it right off the back. Now the front, right up into that elbow. Being mindful of the foot down here at the bottom. And up into that elbow again. This one, I don't be too mindful. I want to watch that jaw, make sure the blade didn't hit in the jaw right there. And if you need to split it, come straight out. Sink that knife in. And then take it down to that center point. And chip it out. And then you might be able to come in from the bottom and get it more easily. Okay? And then, right up like so. Different ways. There is no one way to carve anything. There are so many options. Anything that I do, somebody else might do a completely different way. If they were designing this character, they could have this exact same character design, and the way they get to the end result being just 100% different from everything. They might have started the feet and did all of the feet completely before they moved on. Anything could have been different. All of it could have been different. It's the neat thing about this hobby. So when I encourage you to not just replicate my carving, the point there being getting you to the point that you can just do the style carving on your own without having to follow something from me. If you want to, absolutely follow something. It's nice to get ideas for carvings from other folks, but being able to get an idea and having to follow step by step, not the same thing. I'd love to have more people get to the point that they can do a carving like this without needing help. Okay, so we got our hands set in. I'm just cleaning up a little bit in the front there to round that corner off. We got our hands set in. Now we can worry about setting in our jacket and our pants and our boots. We got a lot of hard lines here all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those hard lines off the back right here first. A hard corner. Don't need that. And then I'm going to try to take off these saw marks. We don't need that either. Saw marks on the side of the feet, front of the feet, other side of the feet. There we go. And then are those little saw marks? I think those are all the saw marks. Yeah, I think we got them all now. All right. So we're going to be drawing this jacket on. And you don't have to do a jacket, you do whatever you want to, but I like the jacket. And the jacket's just going to be kind of open in the front. But here we decide what you want to do. If you want to add more details that I didn't, you can. You can put a big belt buckle right here in the front if you wanted to. You could put a little pocket square in right there if you wanted to. You didn't have to do a jacket. You just do one type of shirt and leave it closed the front if you wanted to. Just do a little bit simpler. Don't even leave that opening spot there. But we're going to do it just like I've done these other ones. And to do that, the jacket is going to come down to about where the sleeves do. So we're going to come from the sleeves around the front, like so. Once we get the front, we want to have about a 1/4 of an inch opening in the middle there for the jacket. So we're going to come over, and then come straight up. And there's our jacket. You can have it open more if you want to. And the shirt is going to come in a little bit higher than the end of the jacket. Okay? Now for the feet right here, we're going to separate them out like so. Around the back, feet are going to get separated out. That jacket is going to continue around the back. Like that right there. Nice and easy. Okay? So now that's all set up. Let's go ahead and start working on this. I'm going to first up the jacket on the back. So I'm going to carve up to it. The jacket does not come out very far, so we don't need to remove a lot of wood here to set in a line for a jacket. We're mostly just cutting in a line and barely carving up to it to set in where it is, to show and delineate. This is where the bottom of that jacket is. And also our paint doesn't run. Like that right there. Okay, so that's the bottom of our jacket. Now, let's talk about legs. You can carve in, as you see right here, a bit of an angle and then out to give him some knees to those legs. And I kind of like that look. You can have it come straight down if you want to. It doesn't look as good. This one's just slightly curved in a little bit as it goes down. This one, I have even less of that V in there. And you can see it doesn't look as good maybe as this guy does with the backs of the knees in, right? I kind of like that look. So let's do that right there. I think it's the more complicated one, but again, you can do it however you want to. So about from this point here, that's the top of the legs, the bottom legs, about midway there, that's where our knees need to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to carve down from the top to about there, and then carve up to about there. And do it again if we need to. And that is setting in those knees. And now we want to bring that around the corner a bit. Like that. Bring it around the corner a bit. Like so. So you can see we've already set those knees in enough that the visualization is there. Like you get it. You can see his butt's protruding out a bit. The legs come in a bit at the knees. That is exactly what we want to see. Let us go ahead and draw that line back in now for the back here. That is our back of our legs. To do this, I'm going to put the knife tip in right here at the top. Okay, just straight left to right, right in the middle there. From that, I'm going to carve at a 45-degree angle all the way down, like so. I'll flip the carving around, and I'm going to repeat that angle from the other direction, trying to make the tip of the knife meet up in there, and just take that out. Now I'm going to deepen it. And deepen it from this direction. Deepen it again. And if your legs aren't quite lined up, see how the left side here is a little bit thinner than the right side? Let's go ahead and fix that by coming in from the outside. Like so. And we'll bring those knees in too. Into there. Little V cuts. Now, along the top of the butt here, we want to do a little line coming out and carve right up to it. And that's kind of setting in that butt shelf. See what I'm talking about, the butt shelf right there? Bring it along to line up the other one. That's the same. And then round off that butt shelf too. You want a hard butt shelf. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not going to judge you what you want on a butt shelf. But if we do that right, we get that kind of pinch right there, right? Like he's clenching his cheeks. And it's kind of fun. So I like the look of that. I think that's looking pretty well. All right, let's worry about setting in the front of our feet. So the same thing. We're going to do a little flat cut right here at the top of that. I'm going to sink that in. I'm actually going to do it a little bit the other direction as well. We'll spine around like that. Now we're going to do it from that corner where the feet meet the legs, and we're going to carve right up to that line. And the other direction, again at a 45-degree angle. And carve it out. We have several planes we're trying to do this on. On this one, we might be able to do a little V-cut action. Like so. And then sink that knife in that corner like that to try to pop that little bit out. And now we're going to do that V-cut again on the front here. And it's coming along. Recut what you think you need to recut. Don't just leave it. It looks a little messy, looks a little terrible. Fix it. Go back in there. Get it done right. Now, right here, we're going to do the same little butt shelf thing going on the front, because honestly, that same illusion just makes it look like the front of the pants are creased right in the groin, and it still looks appropriate without looking inappropriate. Like that right there. See? Relatively simple, understated, nothing complicated. Now these boots, you can take those hard corners off if you want to, or you can leave them. You don't have to take it off at all. Now you can see right now as well, these boots are wider than they are on some of these other carvings, right? So I got some big wide boots and I got some thin boots. Determine what size boots you want right now. If you want to thin, if you don't like how wide they are, thin them out on the left side, left and right side. Bring them in. You could also try to separate out the legs. I'm not going to try to do that. That's not in the scope of today's video. But if I was doing that, I would simply continue these V-cuts in, getting deeper and deeper. Not deeper with the knife out this way, deeper with the knife in this way. So small, deeply angled V-cuts over and over from each side till I met it. And then I clean up the sides. And then you'd have legs kind of coming out from the center. So that's something you can do if you want to, if you're more advanced. But if you're more advanced at that point, you probably don't need me telling you how to do that. All right, let's worry about setting in the front of the jacket. Carve up to it. Again, not going very deep. It's just a little bit of cloth. It doesn't need us to go very deep at all. And then we're carving down here to meet that spot. Down to meet that. Like so. And now we're going to redo our line for our shirt. Remember, it goes over the bottom of the jacket. And if you put it up real high, you can be like an old man. You can put it like really high up there, you know. If you want to, you can just draw a second line right here and just have that little belt right there if you'd like to. So if I was doing a belt, I'd carve up to it here. Now that's all you need if you're ending the shirt. If you want to do a belt, maybe the shirt's tucked into the belt, you know. That means you carve down from the top. Like so. Now you got a shirt tucked into a belt. And you can put a big belt buckle on there or not. You can be a black leather belt, or a brown leather belt if you want to. You can leave it like that. All right. For our boots, the pants you can blouse straight across and have them into the boots. Or you can have them kind of come down at an angle. Maybe he's a 90s kid, you know. I kind of like that look, coming down at an angle right here. So let's make him like a 90s kid. He get those long pant legs going on right there. So we're going to carve in left to right and then carve up to it because the boot is under the pants. Pants are going up over the edge of the boot. Same thing on this side, and we carve in and carve up to it. Like so. And I carved in a little deep there, so maybe I want to thin this boot out right here a little bit to make up for that. And I was going to leave it deeper, wider boot, but sometimes how we do other cuts determines that for us. We have to change things accordingly. Just like that little chip I got in the face. This guy just didn't want to have thick boots. So now he's not getting thick boots. That's okay, I got others that do have thick boots. Yeah, this guy's got some thinner boots now, you see? And that just changed because I cut a little bit too deep on the pant leg, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. No one else is going to know unless you tell them. They'll think I meant to do it that way from the beginning. And that's one of the wonderful things about this hobby is that you don't have to tell people about any mistakes you made. Fix it, move on, and they'll never know. They'll never know. All right, so that neckline, I want to set in a bit more around here. So let's get deep in this little V channel all the way around the neck. And then we're going to set in the back of the jaw real fast. What do I mean by the back of the jaw? The jaw lines here, if you set them out a little bit, it just gives a little more shadow and makes things a little bit more defined. So to do that, we're going to come down from the front side of that bolt, and we're just going to come straight down. You can angle it back a little bit, gives that jaw a bit more strength to it, like he's a big, strong fella. So I'm going to put the knife blade in right there, drag that down. I'm going to put a 1/4 of an inch deep, and then I'm going to carve that chip out like so. And that's just going to set down that jaw in there, kind of cartoonish style, past that edge, right, like so. Same thing here. For relief cut in the bottom, carve right down to it. There we go. Okay, now what can we do here to add a little bit more details? Well, you can add a little running strip along the bottom of the boots that will give the illusion of like soles to the boots. So let's do that. How hard is that to do? Well, if you just draw a straight line with your knife, you can come back in and just gently carve down to it like so. Even with this big thick blade on this pocket knife, I can do this, so you can definitely do this too. I believe in you. You've got it. And you can just do it as little V cuts as you want, if you want to, rather than just doing it at a drawn line and kind of carving up to it. Just do little V cuts. That works as well. It doesn't need to be real big. It just needs to be something, a little detail to separate those out. Take the hardcore off. And that's generally enough. Like so. So that looks good. That's something. What else can we do? Well, Frankenstein's clothes are always torn, so we can go to his clothes in a few spots and just take a little V cut like this right here. Okay. So now that pant leg is kind of opened up around that boot a little bit. Let's do another one over here. Let's one in. I went way too deep, but like that's all right. Little V cut there. Maybe his jacket's got some tears on the back. Like that right there. Maybe his hair. Let's round that hair off a bit more, huh? I like that. So maybe his hair has got those all over the place in the back. And little things like this should add a little bit of detail. You don't have to do them. Right? There's several spots. That's looking pretty neat. You could add a little bit of it too if you wanted to. A little tiny one in the jacket, maybe. Oh, that's fun. So yeah, like that right there. You can do the front of the jacket if you want to, whatever you want to. And yeah, he's looking pretty good though. And I think that we've got Frank done. Is there anything I missed? I don't think I missed anything. And you can see I got those in different, shot sizes and whatnot in this guy. I even got the pant leg hanging down further on one side than the other, kind of little things like that to add a little variation between them. If you do multiples, and do multiples. Why not? Do 1, do 2, do 3. All right, let's talk about painting for a quick second. I'm going to pop up the colors that I used here. I did not do anything complicated with painting these guys, so I'm not going to show you any video of painting them because literally just acrylics watered down 50-50. I mean 50-50 paint, 50-50 water, mix it up thoroughly, and then I painted those colors directly on here. And enough that you can kind of see the coloring between them. The gray I didn't water down at all. I left that nice and thick so I could coat it on there. And the very light brown I didn't water down as much. I think that was 75% paint and 25% water. But either way, everything else is 50-50. The bright green for the skin tone, the dark green for these pants and for the shirt, that maroon color, purplish kind of like there. Yeah, they worked out pretty well, and they're absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go wash this carving. I wash every carving. Every carving looks better when you wash it, so you should absolutely wash your carvings. I'm going to take this guy to the sink. I'm going to wash him with soap and water, hand soap, lukewarm water for 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to soap him up, and I'm just going to scrub the dickens out of him. I do this with every carving, and I tell everyone every time that you should do it too, and it's going to clean up a lot of the cuts. It's going to clean up a lot of those fuzzies, those terrible looking things, and you'll see the difference here in about 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Here he is, all dried up, looking fantastic. You can see too, I showed you how bad that kind of looked around that bolt, and it didn't look nearly that bad. We really made him look a lot better, cleaned up all that stuff, and this will also allow you to see where else do I need to clean up. I can see right here, there's a little bit of a fuzz there that I'm going to need to carve out to get rid of that I couldn't tell if it was just sitting there or not before. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. And that is Frankenstein for our video. And that is all we got for today. Thank you so much for sticking around the video and watching the whole thing. I sincerely appreciate it. Head over to Patreon if you would and take part in the conversation that's happening over there. I am so enthralled and excited about the community that's developing in the chat. And the chat's free. You can go over there and sign up for a free account, and you can take part in the chat. People are talking every day and helping each other out by answering questions about painting, about wood carving, about various things. And I'm so, I am here for that. I love it so much, the little community that's developing. Please head over and take part in it. If you want to help support the channel as well, you can do so. And these fine folks are doing that already. And I sincerely appreciate them from the bottom of my heart. Outside of that, though, head over to Instagram, Facebook, give me a like and a follow over there. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.